We've hit the month of June at Citi Field. The flowers are in bloom. The weather is just fantastic for some night baseball against the Pirates. Want the starting lineup? Well, there it is. Just come right up. Come on into the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. Sun goes down. Mets hoping their bats heat up. From Citi Field in New York, it's New York Mets baseball as the Mets play host to the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. And tonight's game is brought to you in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. Hi, everyone, and welcome here on the field at Citi Field. I'm Kevin Burkhardt as the Mets and Pirates play Game 3 of this 4-game set. And a critical 10-game homestand for the Mets right now. Obviously, they're very banged up, but 2-3 on the homestand, and they've lost every game of this homestand late. Last night was no different. It was a game the Mets were leading 1-0 heading into the 8th inning. R.A. Dickey was pitching a gem. Then he got into some trouble, loaded up the bases, had 0-2 on Neil Walker, but then Walker delivered. The Pirates took a 3-1 lead. They wouldn't look back after that on the way to a 5-1 victory. And it brought up an interesting dilemma after the game. I mean, Terry Collins basically saying he didn't think R.A. Dickey was tired, and why not? He had pitched a gem until that point in the game. And as we bring in Ron Darling, who's standing by from the booth upstairs, Ron, you talk about when to take a knuckleballer out of the game. Dickey was pitching great. He did hit the one batter in the inning. How do you know when his time is up?
Boy, you never know. You know, R.A. last night described this knuckleball as mercurial, giving up that hit on an 0-2 pitch. But I think one of the difficult parts about taking out a knuckleballer is that he could probably go 100, 125 pitches, but you had to deal not only with the knuckleball, you had to deal with him coming off of an injury, how the injury affected him in game, and all those things I think go behind the manager's decision on whether to take R.A. out or let him in. You also have your bullpen depth, who's available, your bullpen effectiveness, who has really done the job in the last few games. So I think the key was, when I look at it with R.A. and the decision that Terry Collins made, it was a great decision. He just did not make the pitch. There's 3 to 5 outs you got to get within a game to have an outstanding game. R.A. got 3 of them. He missed those last 2.
Oh, meanwhile, after that great pitching performance, the Mets couldn't get the win. They'll turn to Chris Capuano tonight. 2 starts ago at Yankee Stadium, a couple fly balls. He had 4 home runs allowed. Last start here Friday night, outstanding against Philadelphia, Ronnie.
Well, I think Capuano was his best start by far. When you look at what he did in his last start, 8 punch-outs, as you said, only 78 pitches. He was so effective and could have went deeper into that game as he was pinch hit for. But Capuano's hoping to have another good night tonight, and he's going against probably the best pitcher right now for the Pittsburgh Pirates, a guy who started out in the Giants chain, went to the San Diego Padres, and now has 7 wins so far on this season, 6-1 as you see in his road starts.
The Mets see if they can take the second game out of this series so far against the Pirates. Plenty of good food to be eaten. Stroll on the Shea Bridge and show your allegiance. It'll be the Mets and the Buccos coming up from Citi Field after this. to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Cholula Hot Sauce. Looking for the perfect balance of flavor and heat? Add Cholula to your next meal. The hot sauce with the wooden cap. Your Tri-State Ford dealers. By Bob's Discount Furniture. Proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. And by Audi. No tickets for the inaugural soccer match at Citi Field featuring the national teams from Ecuador and Greece this Tuesday at 8 o'clock, and they're on sale. Call 718-507-TIXX, or you can visit 507tix.com now for your tickets. Time to check out Around the Majors is brought to you by Cadillac. John Ladden finally beats the Phillies in the Nationals. Took 203 from the Phils, even with Halladay and Lee going. Meanwhile, Colby Lewis, 8 scoreless. Texas gets the victory over the Rays this afternoon. And also today, Adam Jones, little O for the Orioles as they beat the Mariners, who had been playing pretty good ball. 2-1 the final there. Meanwhile, here at Citi Field, we've got the Mets and the Pirates. Gorgeous sunset. Chris Capuano gets the ball. We come back. Gary and Ron have the mic.
As you check out the Pirates starting lineup tonight, brought to you by Ford. Jose Tabata in the lineup tonight, despite the fact that he got hit in the face during batting practice tonight and had to be helped off the field, but Tabata just had a bloody nose, and so he remains in there. The Pirates splitting the 2 games in this series so far and facing a left-hander for the first time with Chris Capuano on the mound tonight.
Well, by the way, that was Gary Cohen, folks, if you didn't know the voice there. Chris Capuano.
Hi, everybody.
Chris Capuano, 3 wins on the season in his 9 starts, coming off his best start of the season.
Well, there is the aforementioned Jose Tabata. No scars, no blood, no cuts, no foul. But it was scary because he was lying on the ground out in left field for a good 5 minutes. They finally helped him to his feet, put a towel to his face, had to help a staggering Tabata make it down the dugout steps. But here he is an hour and a half later, starting and leading off and taking the first pitch inside for ball 1.
First pitch right at him.
Tough kid, right? 1 for 6 in this series. recently installed as the leadoff hitter by Clint Hurdle, and he rips one to left field, and Jason Bay is right there to pick it off for the first out of the game. So 1 out and nobody on.
Well, here's the City defense. Bay, Pagan, and Beltran. This is game number 55. This is the 6th time that they've started in the outfield together. Harris, Tejada, Turner, and Murphy, and Ronnie Paulino getting the job tonight behind the plate, and you expect him probably to play tomorrow also against the left-hander Mahalam.
So here is Josh Harrison, who made his major league debut yesterday, and it will be one that he'll remember for a long time. Picked up his first major league hit in his second at bat, and then came to bat in the 8th inning with his team down 1-0 and singled home the tying run. And Harrison said after the game he wasn't nervous at all. Liar. Out to right center field, and over goes Angel Pagan. So 2 fly balls from Capuano and 2 outs to start the night.
I wonder if he wasn't nervous because he was facing a knuckleballer. I mean, if you go over, you go, hey, listen, I hit traditional pitching. I'm not up here to hit knuckleballs.
He said, I felt like I've been doing it all my life.
Wow.
And you know what? Maybe he's telling the truth, and if he is, good for him. There's a steal.
Well, it was interesting. His first hit was pulled through the hole, and his RBI hit the other way. So those are good signs.
There's Andrew McCutchen, who was 0 for 7 so far in this series, but drew a key walk against Dickey in that big 8th inning last night. Dickey was so close to getting through that 8th. He nipped Tabata on the elbow with a pitch that prolonged the inning, and then Harrison got the hit. McCutchen drew the walk, and then Walker got that 2-run single.
Well, that was the big at bat. I think the Tabata just it just threw everything awry, and after that, RA could not recover.
McCutchen hitting at 247. You saw Walker on deck. Capuano has not allowed a first inning run so far this year, now making his 10th start. He was really terrific his last time out against the Phillies. And I heard you talking with Kevin during the open about the decision in leaving R.A. Dickey in the game last night. Of course, the last time Capuano pitched, Terry Collins had an equally tough decision on taking Capuano out. He pulled him for a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 6th with the game tied, with Capuano having only thrown 78 pitches.
Well, I think what happens sometimes, Gary, even though Terry Collins was not the manager here last year, he was so good, R.A., last year, and always getting that big out. Sometimes you build up a little a foundation that you can build upon, and he got the benefit of the doubt.
Willie Harris stays back on the ground ball, and the close play at first, safe. A delay in the call by David Dubuque at first base. It looked like he was about to ring him up and then changed his mind.
Well, Willie stayed back a little, a couple of crow hops, and then didn't get a lot on this throw, and that wasn't even close. Boy, McCutchen can fly. He can even fix his helmet while he's safe.
Well, he definitely beat the play, although it took him till he got his heel down in the center of the bag there before he finally arrived safely. Made it a closer play than it had to be. Look at the Mercedes-Benz Ultramo, brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So McCutchen has his first hit of the series, and he's aboard for Neil Walker. Walker's hit last night against Dickey in the 8th inning was just his 6th hit in his last 38 at bats, so he has not exactly been raging hot. I wonder the next time Willie Harris has to field a ground ball by McCutchen if he might charge it a little more.
Well, see here, when he's fixing his helmet, he loses his way. What you're supposed to do as a runner, your toe should touch the front of that bag. That's the quickest way to get through the bag. He made it closer by touching the middle of the bag.
And coming down on his heel like that. Capuano, who keeps runners close very effectively, keeps an eye on McCutchen, who has 10 steals this year.
But that will tell you a little bit about his flat-out speed. A little two-hopper to third base and beats it out easily.
You see the numbers on Capuano, 2 steals allowed this year. But we've seen a little bit of McCutchen in a lot of areas. We haven't seen him hit much in this series, but we've seen his ability to go back and get a fly ball. We've seen his arm throwing out Murphy, trying to stretch a single into a double. And we've seen his speed.
Well, with his 9 home runs, he's a 5-tool kind of player, as we see former Atlanta Brave Matt Diaz on deck.
Capuano struck out 8 in that last start against the Phillies, a season high for him. He has seen a lot of the Pirates over the years, having pitched predominantly for Milwaukee in the National League Central. This is his 14th career start against Pittsburgh, and he has not fared well against them. And a better pickoff move that time by McCutchen, almost leaning the wrong way.
You can see those big numbers Capuano has against the Pirates. They traditionally been very tough on him.
Walker takes it up and away, 2-1.
Now, when Capuano's trying to hold a runner on, he's got 3 or 4 different moves, all of them good, quick moves. He'll step over there and he'll fake like he's going home and go over. What does the runner do? He really needs to see that front knee, which is the right knee of Capuano, past his left knee. Once that happens, he can go. The problem is the real good ones like Capuano, Andy Pettit before he retired, is they bring that right knee almost parallel to that left knee, hold it, and then you have nowhere to go. And I honestly believe that if you're a left-handed starting pitcher and you don't have a good move, that's just laziness. I mean, you have to work on that part of the game.
Now Capuano behind 3-1, and Walker cracks one to right center, but overcomes Pagan to end the inning. So 3 fly ball outs for Capuano, and the Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Starting lineup for tonight, Angel Pagan hits leadoff for the second straight game. Ronnie Paulino gets his first start of the series against his old team. Willie Harris back at third after Daniel Murphy played there yesterday. And Murph, now the hottest hitter in the lineup, the way he's been swinging the bat lately. Of course, Angel Pagan's been no slouch since coming off the disabled list, and he takes a strike from Kevin Correa.
Well, I have to say Correa is one of the better free agent signings this past winter. 43 and 47 in his career for the San Diego native, but off to this quick start with the Pirates.
Mets saw him last year with San Diego. He pitched a memorable game. He wasn't particularly good, but it was a memorable game because the Mets got slaughtered 18-6 in San Diego on the last day of May. So here a year and a day later, he's hoping for the same kind of support from his new Pirate teammates. Oh, and 2 to Pagan, and he floats one into shallow center, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Well, Pagan's been doing a lot of that since coming back. just trying to put the ball in play, serving it into the outfield, and he's now 10 for 22 since his return.
Well, too good of a pitch by Correa, and you say to yourself, why is that? It was inside, it was up, but when that pitch is up and it's not inside enough, a strong leadoff hitter like Pagan can muscle it into center field, which he did.
Now Justin Turner. Justin took an 0 for last night, and it was an interesting 0 for to watch. He went 0 for 4, hit the ball in the air 4 times in a row, and it looked like, for the first time, that Turner was trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
And it was interesting. Terry Collins was asked that before the game today if he thought any of his hitters, because of the lack of home runs for the Mets recently, if they were trying to put a charge in one.
Well, Turner's been so good. He's driven in a run in 13 of his last 16 games, hitting just 1 home run. That was in Houston, which, well, that's a place where a right-hander might try to hit a home run. But Justin having himself a remarkable run through 96 at bats. He's hitting .323, 21 runs batted in. So Correa for the second straight hitter, ahead in the count 0-2. Turner takes the slider away, and it's 1-2. Turner playing second base tonight. The configuration of the Mets infield will change again tomorrow for the better, because Jose Reyes will return from the bereavement leave that he's been on the last 3 days. There goes Pagan. Turner bounces it to third. Tough hop for Harrison. Makes the throw in time. And Pagan is at second.
Boy, that's a nice play by Harrison. That's the view you get if you're Josh. That ball coming right at you. There was nothing he could do. Tried to charge to get it on the short hop. Could not get there in time. Knew he was going to get it in between hop. And almost defensively with the backhand in front of the Pittsburgh. Gets it and makes a strong throw to first base.
So the Mets have a runner in scoring position. And now Carlos Beltran, who's 3 for 8 in this series. And he takes a sinker away from Correa for ball 1. Mets have gone 10 straight games without hitting a home run. The last time they had a streak that long was in 1980, when they set a franchise record, going 17 straight games without a home run.
You know, when you look at Harrison off third base, he's trying to protect against that hole. But see how far he is off third? If Pagan were able to get a great jump and steal third, boy, that's a long distance to go to have to sprint over to third and make a catch and apply a tag.
Correa behind 2-0, and Beltran lifts one to left, and Tabata has it lined up. No need to spin around like he did last night. Now Pagan trying for third, and he will make it safely. So Pagan aggressively taking the extra base, and a fly ball to left with Tabata back on his heels.
Well, this is where the base runner runs, only because of the way the outfielder goes after the baseball. Here's the Coors Light Pirates defense. Tabata in left field. McCutchen, you see his outfield assist. Diaz, the ex-Brave, in right field. Harrison, Cedeno, Walker, and Overbay. And Chris Snyder hit the big 2-run home run in the first game behind the plate. There's Tabata. See, once Angel sees him back on his heels, because Tabata has a great arm, he takes off anyway with that good speed. He beats it.
Now Jason Bay, and Jason comes to bat in the first inning in the exact same spot that he did last night, with Pagan at third and 2 out. Last night he hit a little dribbler for an infield hit that drove in the Mets' only run. Correa using the full windup with a runner at third. Don't see that much these days. And Pagan taking some liberties going down the line, watching Correa take that windup.
If you're a veteran pitcher, Gary, and you're taking that full windup with to see Murph on the on-deck circle, you pay him no mind. You don't even see him. All you're concentrating on is that glove of Snyder's. Boy, that was a tough strike here. Jason trying to pigeonhole, get a good pitch to hit. That slider looked down.
3 extra base hits in his last 30 games and none in his last 10 games. He can settle for a single right now. And Bay hits this one well to right center field. Chasing back is McCutchen to the track, reaching, sliding, and he caught the ball. What a great play by Andrew McCutchen. Well, we said he showed off his skills in this series, and back into that deep right center and making a great sliding catch before he braced his foot against the wall. Superb play by McCutchen to keep the Mets off the board in the first inning. That's Gold Glove caliber right there. Brought to you by RPL Equipment from Midtown to Montauk. For all your contracting needs, visit them online at rplequipment.com. Matt Diaz leads off the second inning for Pittsburgh and rifles one into left center. Overcomes Pagan to play it on a hop. And Diaz has the Pirates' second hit. Swinging at the first pitch he sees.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter if he has a Brave uniform on or a Pirate uniform on. You put a Met left-hander out there, Matt Diaz is going to get his hits.
He hasn't hit much this year. Only hit 205 against lefties even. But Diaz has been a big thorn in the Mets side for a long time. Here's Chris Snyder, who hit a 2-run homer in the opening game of the series on Monday night. Snyder sat last night as Dusty Brown caught his first game for the Pirates. Snyder's got good numbers lately, 7 for his last 12, and he's got good numbers against Capuano. He's 4 for 5 with a home run. And he takes that one for ball one.
Well, really one of the few mistakes that Dylan G made in the ball game. Little hanging slider to Snyder early in that ball game. 2-run home run. No reaction from G. I like to see that.
Well, Dylan got smart. He threw that slider, gave up the home run, and I think he threw one slider the rest of the game. Breaking ball by Capuano misses, and it's 2-1. And you see the numbers for Snyder against Capuano. Lyle Overbay, the only left-handed bat in the Pirates lineup tonight, waiting on deck. And if you're the opposition, you're going to stack as many right-handers as you can against Capuano, given his numbers so far this year. The right-handers are hitting .312 against Chris, and he's given up the highest slugging percentage against right-hand hitters of any pitcher in the majors.
The only negative to that, Gary, and doesn't seem like there should be a negative. If you have so many right-handed hitters, it allows a left-hander sometimes to get into a real groove with that changeup away. Sometimes when you alternate every once in a while, it's got to mix in that slider, mix in that cutter, so you see those numbers. Big difference.
The 8 home runs obviously is the big number there, and you know, much of that came in the game at Yankee Stadium when he allowed 4 home runs. Checking on Diaz, who's an only occasional base stealer. Snyder, a guy with a big swing, will strike out, so you certainly don't expect to send the runner here. And the 3-2 popped it up, and Ruben Tejada retreating to grab it for the first out. So Snyder retired, never bothered to drop his bat. I guess he figured, why bother the bat boy?
I played with some managers that's a big pet peeve. They do not like to see that. Drop your bat, get to first base.
Well, we mentioned it the other night. Chris Snyder has a habit of doing a few things that might upset some people on his own team.
Well, when you're 7 for your last 13 and hit a bomb 2 nights ago, maybe you can do that.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Overbay left in the lineup against the left-hander, hitting a .232 for the year, about the same against left-handed pitching. He's the lone veteran in this lineup. I guess you'd have to consider Snyder and Diaz veterans too, but among the players who play every day, the 34-year-old Overbay is really that veteran linchpin. Picked up in the offseason after playing the last 5 years in Toronto. And he hits a double play ball to the backhand of Turner. And Tejada does the rest. Gets stretched by Murphy for the 4-6-3 double play. That gets Capuano through the top of the second. No score. Matt Diaz, you can see the evidence of his slide on that double play just now. You could use a chalk outline on that.
But you can see that he's always been an aggressive player, really goes probably out of the line to go after Tejada. And if you watch Ruben after this happens, checks back. Boy, you were a long way away from the base, kid.
I mean, the rule of thumb is you should be able to touch the base with some part of your body, and there's no way Diaz could have been able to do that, where he went out and slid into Tejada. Murphy, it's a comebacker, and Correa tosses him out. 1 pitch and 1 retired in the home second. So Murphy, who is coming off 8 hits in his last 3 games, attacks the first pitch he sees tonight. And here is Ronnie Polino, who spent 4 years as a Pittsburgh Pirate from 2005 to 2008. He had one terrific year for Pittsburgh in 2006 when he hit .310. And the Pirates at that time were thinking that he would be their catcher for a long time to come. But his production faded the next couple of years. He wound up in Florida as a platoon player and in much the same role now with the Mets. Ronnie's had 49 at bats. He's hitting .327. He's had the last 3 days off as Josh Thole worked his way back into the lineup. And Thole swung the bat much better the last 3 days. It's amazing what a little competition can do in a ball club. Josh observing today, and probably the same tomorrow, with the Pirates starting a lefty tomorrow, Paul Maholm.
You know, if you said about a week to 10 days ago, it looked like Paulino was going to get the most of the playing time. And then Josh Thole said, you know what, I'm going to get some knocks, and he did. I didn't know he's pulling a Roger McDowell. He's sitting in the crowd.
Is he really?
Bought a ticket. It looks like it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, do you remember when Tom Browning was with the Reds and they played at Wrigley Field?
That's right.
The day he wasn't pitching, he went across the street and sat on one of the rooftops in uniform.
Well, that's why I mentioned Roger McDowell, because he, of course, in the bullpen, he sat the first 3 or 4 innings in a big raincoat in his uniform out in the bleachers in Wrigley Field.
There you go. Did he wear like the Les Strode coat?
Yeah.
3-2 to Paulino. And he ignores outside ball 4, and so Ronnie's on with a 1-out walk. Correa does not walk many, 1.9 walks per 9 innings. That's in the top 10 in the league as far as control artists are concerned. Now Willie Harris. Harris started the opening game of this series, went 0 for 5. This is the 5th game that he started at third base since David Wright went down. Latest word on David is that he is supposed to have X-rays and perhaps some other tests done on Friday. He's feeling a lot better, and after those tests we should have a much better idea about what the timeline is for David's return. You see the numbers on Correa, just not only good control but consistently good control. 2 walks or less in every start. 1-1 to Harris with Ruben Tejada on deck. Let's continue to go with 13 pitchers and a 4-man bench tonight. That should change, I would suspect, tomorrow when Reyes comes back. What will be interesting about the player move that the Mets will have to make tomorrow was watching Bobby Parnell last night. You know, Bobby had his fastball popping at 100 miles an hour. He threw some hellacious sliders, and yet it was not a successful outing for him coming back from the disabled list.
Well, when you watch Bobby last night, you have to be really happy with the physical part of his game as far as how hard he threw and the kind of the snap on that slider. But still, the command was not there, or what Bobby, I'm sure, would want it to be there. And also the putting players away. We saw a couple times he got 0-2 and was not able to put the hitters away. And I think that's something that he's going to have to get better at.
Now the 2-2, and Harris goes down swinging at the fastball. First strikeout for Correa, who does not strike out many.
Correa has a little more hop on his fastball tonight. I've always thought of him more of a guy that sank the ball, good breaking ball, but that one he throws right by Willie Harris. I mean, that almost splits the plate.
As you keep climbing, Delta overhead camp. As Ruben Tejada steps in. But getting back to Parnell, I mean, is he better off being here and having that power arm in the bullpen, particularly as much as Jason Isringhausen's been overused the last week, or is he better off going and getting some more appearances in the minor leagues and trying to tighten those things up?
It's a hard thing, but I do know that managers do like to have, would love to have 2 power arms in the bullpen, and I'm excluding Isringhausen and K-Rod at the end. I'm talking about in the middle with Beato and Parnell. That would be quite a duo if you get them both throwing the way they can.
Tejada took an 0 for last night after 3 hits in the opening game of the series. Getting a .293 through his first 41 big league at bats. The Mets finished the month of May above 500. They were 14-13 in May. With all of the trials and tribulations they went through, they have to consider that quite an accomplishment. Hit slowly to the left side. Harrison goes the short way and gets the force to end the inning. A walk and 1 left. We've played 2 innings at Citi Field. Mets and Pirates, no score. Great look at Midtown Manhattan, the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building in the foreground. Well, earlier today, Terry Collins, Jason Bay, Josh Tolley, and David Wright were joined by Armed Forces personnel and City for a lighting ceremony in the lobby of the Empire State Building. David manned the switch that will tonight emblazon the Empire State Building in the colors of our country on the north and south sides, and those of the Mets on the east and west, in recognition of the Mets and City's teammates in the Community Week. First pitch pop up by Ronnie Cedeno. Daniel Murphy takes charge and makes the grab. Nice job by Chris Capuano to instruct Murphy and not Paulino to catch it.
Well, that's how you have to do it if you're the starting pitcher.
Well, you go back to the play where Ike Davis got hurt, and it would have been helpful that day to have the pitcher call out who was supposed to take it.
Good by Capuano. What you do is you identify the ball in the air, you look at the participants, and you take the one that's going to, the job will be much easier play for Daniel Murphy.
Kevin Correa takes a strike. Correa 0 for 24 at the plate this year. He's actually a better hitter than that, but not so far in 2011. Although he's won 7 games, he'll take that over, over the hit. Correa is tied for the major league lead in wins. Nobody's won 8 games yet. Jose Tabata waiting on deck. Changeup strikes out the opposing pitcher. First strikeout for Capuano, who fanned 8 in his last start. The inside pitch brought to you by Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, you saw the hitters right there that have had their way with so far with Capuano this year. Tabata has a home run. Dye has a home run. Snyder 4 for 6 now updated.
Now we'll take on Jose Tabata, leading off the leadoff hitter who lined out to left field in the first inning. And the Corners pinch in against the speed of Tabata, who takes a strike. This game's starting differently for Capuano than his last start against the Phillies, when he struck out the first 4 batters to face him. Harris cuts in front of Tejada. The low throw scooped by Murphy, and they get Tabata to end the inning. Harris going a long way. They tell the third baseman if he can reach it, grab it, and he did. And he makes the play to get Capuano through a 1-2-3 inning. Third, Kevin Correa got the benefit of an outstanding defensive play in the first inning. Andrew McCutchen robbing Jason Bay that kept the Mets off the board. Chris Capuano leads off the third, 2 for 14 at the plate this year. He takes a good rip at a fastball, 0-1. Watch Capuano at the plate. You always think something good might happen. We saw him hit some tremendous shots during spring training this year, including one that he hit against the Nats that I remember, an opposite field shot over the left fielder's head. I mean, just a ball that most major league left-handed hitters just don't hit. Misses with the fastball 1-2. We mentioned Correa has terrific control, up among the leading control artists in the league. So maybe we should show you who the other good control artists are. The other guys who don't walk many people. What do you say we do that?
It's a list I never made, so I love seeing these lists.
Roy Halladay number 1, Jair Jurgens number 2. You don't need to know much more after that, do you?
You don't walk people, you win.
36-12 for that group. Capuano breaks his bat, and Cedeno handles that soft pop-up for the first out.
That bat broke like the old-time bats, didn't it? Just a big break, but it doesn't snap in two.
That's one you can tape up and give to somebody as a souvenir.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the old Louisville Slugger. That's why. Put a little screw in there, put the tape around it, and good to go.
Ash, my friend, Ash. Here's Pagan, who has the only Met hit, single leading off the opening inning. Now 6 for 10 in this series as he takes a strike. We've yet to see Pagan hit right-handed since he's come back from the disabled list. He'll get a chance to do that tomorrow against Paul Mahalan. Faced that high fastball, and 0-2. Upset with himself.
Just a little extra pop on the fastball, Correa, tonight.
Well, the Pirates have been getting tremendous starting pitching every day, and Correa leads them with 7 wins. But they've now gone 12 straight games where their starters have allowed 2 earned runs or less. First time they've had a streak like that, the Pirates, since 1984. 12 straight games from their starters, 2 earned runs or less.
84.
Well, at that time, they had John Tudor in their rotation.
That's right, before he went to St. Louis.
Exactly. They also had John Candelaria, of whom Keith speaks so highly.
That's right.
Jose De Leon, Rick Rhoden, Larry McWilliams. Pretty good staff.
De Leon had a stretch with his fastball, slider, and forkball that for a couple of years he was just about unhittable.
And then he had a couple of years where he couldn't get anybody out.
Yeah.
2-2. And Pagan takes a call, 3rd strike. Second strikeout for Correa, and there are 2 down in the inning.
Well, if you're a starting pitcher, this is the pitch you would love to bottle. If you're a right-handed starting pitcher, that little slider that starts off the plate, bends back just over the outside corner. Left-handed hitter gives up on it. And by the time it breaks, a sure strike.
Good look at that from the Delta. Keep climbing overhead cam. So now there are 2 out, and Justin Turner will come to bat. Turner bounced out to 3rd base his first time up. And he bounces this one to short. Comes up to the midsection for Cedeno, and the Mets are down 1-2-3 for the first time tonight. 3 in the books. The pitchers dominating. No score at Citi Field. Well, we've got some nice shots of Midtown Manhattan tonight, don't we?
Very nice.
That's just a great view. Josh Harrison up to lead off the 4th inning against Chris Capuano, who's allowed just 2 hits. And Harrison takes a strike. Harrison flying to center his first time up. It'll be Harrison, then Andrew McCutchen, and Neil Walker, 2, 3, and 4 in the Pirate batting order in the 4th. Corners in against Harrison, who floats one out to left field. Bay got a good jump on it, but he dives, and he made the catch. Jason Bay flat out to take a base hit away from Harrison.
Well, you got the call right, Gary. What a great jump by Jason. Recognized that ball was off the end of the bat of Harrison, laid full out, and just got that in the webbing. That wrist rolling over.
It's your Home Depot doing more on defense. Well, you can't play it any better than that. And hydroplaning. Here's Andrew McCutcheon, had an infield hit his first time up, and takes a strike from Capuano. Still more sliders to the right-hand batters tonight.
Boy, I really like that pitch for him too, especially the first time to the lineup. It's almost a gimme strike for him.
And now the change up, and it's 0-2. We talked about Capuano striking out the first 4 Phillies to face him in his last start. Struck out Rollins, Utley, Polanco, and Howard to start the game. 4 former All-Stars.
Yeah.
The last time the Mets had a pitcher who started the game with 4 straight strikeouts, each against a former All-Star, 1968.
68.
Nolan Ryan.
Wow.
Struck out Cardinals, Lou Brock, Curt Flood, Roger Maris, and Orlando Cepeda to start a game.
Wow.
You don't think of Capuano as a big strikeout pitcher, and you certainly rarely would associate him with Nolan Ryan, but now he has something in common with Mr. Ryan.
Well, not quite Carl Hubble, but pretty impressive.
Into right center field, the base hit from McCutcheon. Pagan smartly over to cut it off, and McCutcheon is 2 for 2. There have been some hard hit balls against Capuano tonight.
Well, we were talking about that. I think it's good to get over for a strike, first pitch for Capuano, but I don't think it's a pitch for those right-handers, especially in the middle of the lineup, that he should use twice within an at-bat.
So now Neil Walker, who hit the ball hard his first time up, lined out to Pagan in center field. I wonder whether that means that Capuano doesn't think he has a great changeup tonight, or maybe he's just holding it more in reserve. And the fastball hit past the mound. Tejada from a prone position gets the out at second base. Well, the Mets diving all over the place, and Tejada somehow able to get that ball over to Turner while lying flat on the ground.
You know, Terry Collins was talking today about how he's had to move all these infielders around. He's been so happy with the way that they've played defense in the infield, and another outstanding play by Ruben Tejada. Not only to get to the ball and after the slide to take his time and make sure he gets the accurate backhand. Beautiful.
Now the runner goes. The throw by Paulino right on the money to get Walker and end the inning. What a defensive inning for the Mets. First Day, then Tejada, and now Paulino. He guns down Neil Walker trying to steal. First time he's been caught this year. And the inning is over. No score in the middle of the 4th. Beltran leads off against Kevin Correa. Mets have had just one hit. The Pirates have had 3. And the Mets have played some superb defense tonight, especially in that last inning. And Beltran takes ball 1. It'll be Beltran, Bay, and Murphy trying to get something started. Well, the Mets had back-to-back games on Sunday and Monday where they rattled out 32 hits. Last night a run on 6 hits, and they've been stymied so far tonight by Correa. And with all the other big bats in the lineup hurt or struggling, so much rides on Beltran right now. But he hasn't hit a home run since that 3 home run game in Colorado. That's more than 3 weeks ago now.
That Beltran is slated to play in tomorrow's day game also.
So Terry Collins sounded him out about it, but you know, every time that he's asked Beltran about whether he's available to play, he's gotten a yes this year, probably more so than he ever expected. And Correa behind on the count 3-1.
Beltran also 6 for 14 with a home run against Mahalam, the starting pitcher in tomorrow's ball game.
Jason Bay, who was flat out robbed his last time up, waiting on deck. 3-1 to Carlos, and he hits it hard, a base hit. Well, the Mets have their second hit, and it comes leading off in the 4th inning. And now Bay, who hit the ball about as well as he's hit a ball all year, his first time up, hit it 410 feet away to the fence in right center field, and Andrew McCutchen made an absolutely top-notch highlight reel sliding catch going into the wall. That'll have you just banging your head against the wall.
Not only does he have the athleticism, but the wherewithal as we track him going to the wall to run to the spot, lay out, and also feet first so he can protect himself against that mesh fence.
I like that. He outran the arrow. That's good. Have we ever used that before?
I've never seen that before.
That's a nice new toy.
Wow.
I'd like to see that again. Now, can we use that to measure how far he ran?
I warn Keith before that happens. Don't let him see that just solo. He'll have a heart attack.
Are you kidding? He loves his toys. More electronics in the booth, the better. 2-1 down to Bay. And here's Jason Bay's catch. Not quite the spice of the McCutchen play, but pretty darn good. So at least if he's going to get robbed, he can return the favor. And Jason takes a nice looking fastball for a strike. 2-2. Kevin Correa coming off a start in Chicago last Friday when he went 7 1/3, allowed no runs and 4 hits en route to a 4-2 victory. Nothing's flashy about him, but he's been very, very solid. Had a good year with San Diego and their great pitching staff 2 years ago as he gets base swinging for the first out of the inning.
Well, it's no hitting this pitch. Just set up beautifully. Slider that starts right on the outside corner and that dips out of the strike zone. Good pitch by Correa.
2 years ago, he was 12-11 for San Diego, 3.91. Last year, he was not as good, 10-10, 5.40, but there were some extenuating circumstances last year. He lost his brother in a hiking accident in the middle of the season, and you can only imagine how that affected the rest of his year. Brother, college age, an experienced hiker, and something went wrong, and he lost his life. And Kevin, who was very close with his brother, was devastated by it. Murphy in a comebacker, the first pitch he saw in the second inning. Beltran at first and 1 out. And it's hit hard. That's a base hit. Well, the Mets with a couple of hits off Correa here in the second. And Murphy just continues to rake. He's 9 for 16 over the last 4 games.
What he's done the last week, though, is this pitch that's up and in, that it was a pop-up. Now he's getting on top of that baseball with that, should I say, Keith says, that level swing, but just gets on top of that baseball and does not pop it up. Line drive right in the hole.
It's just a matter of getting his arms in on time.
Yeah, and he also didn't like, he was looking for more of the ball middle of the plate away. Now he's looking in, or at least reacting in. Much better.
Now Polino, who drew a walk his first time up. And Ronnie hits a ground ball toward the hole. Walker off the end of his glove, and everybody's safe. Walker was able to keep it on the infield to prevent the run from scoring, but couldn't secure it in the glove.
But Walker was playing up the middle, double play depth, and great job of just getting to that baseball and kind of smothering it to keep it close, but still allowing Paulino the infield hit.
So the Mets have the bases loaded and one out on 3 singles here in the 4th, and a chance for Willie Harris to get the first run of the game home. Willie struck out his first time up, hitless in his last 8 at bats. Polino enjoying a nice night against his old team. A walk, a hit, threw a runner out at second. Hit hard but foul. 0-1. Beltran at third, Murphy at second, and Polino at first with 1 out. Harris sitting 7th in the order. Tejada on deck. And Willie swings and misses. 0-2. Looking a little anxious. He pulls one foul. That's all year of struggle getting runners home from third with less than 2 out. 46% as a team. Well below the league average. Harris has had 3 opportunities and converted only once. Again, the 0-2. Up and away. And that's the hop on that fastball from Correa, trying to get him to chase it upstairs. Harris has had plenty of at-bats against Correa, who's now 4 for 14 against him. Clint Hurdle, in his first year managing the Pirates, who lost 105 games last year, but have been a much better team this season. On the outside corner, strike 3 called, and Harris thought for sure that pitch was outside, but Kerwin Danley judged it a strike.
I thought that pitch was outside, kind of went around the plate. Good job by Snyder bringing it back in, but that pitch is not a strike. I believe Willie was right in that call. Let's see where the ball is overhead.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's in the other batter's box.
The adult to keep climbing overhead can.
No, those umpires, when they sit that far inside, which is how they're taught, that outside pitch becomes a bit of a problem.
It's a guessing game.
Yes.
So now 2 out. Base is still loaded for Tejada. We're going to ground ball to third into a force play his first time up. And he goes after the first pitch. That little cutter or slider Correa's throwing has been very tough tonight.
Yeah, very effective. Breaking late. Well, it has the appearance, you can tell by the swing by Tejada, of a fastball about 3/4 of the way there.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of velocity difference between that pitch and his fastball. He's throwing the fastball 90 and throwing that pitch 87. That's why he think of it more as a cutter than a slider, but it's got great movement for a cutter.
It's honestly looks like a traditional slider from 1980. Just small, not a big slider. Something you can throw 90 miles an hour.
1-1 to Tejada. And Rubin lays off. Same pitch, and it's 2-1.
That's interesting. Kerwin Danley sitting on the inside with the right-handed hitters, not giving that pitch away from the righties, but just the opposite on the lefties.
I guess some umpires are left-eyed and some are right-eyed. Now it's 2-1. And he gets a fastball and foul tips it into Snyder's mitt, and it's 2-2.
You like to see your hitters attack a 3-1 fastball, but Rubin's got to keep in the back of his mind base hit, just as important here.
So now it's 2-2. Snyder was moving all around back there and then finally asked for time, and he goes out to talk to Correa.
Well, maybe it confused Correa. If you look at the outfield defense, pretty traditional in left field and center field, pretty deep. Matt Daya is just the opposite, very shallow in right field. Which is being very aggressive against Tejada, but presents a problem because Diaz doesn't have that kind of speed to make up for a ball in the gap.
Well, or a ball down the line.
Yeah.
He might have trouble cutting that ball off. Bases loaded, 2 down, 2-2 to Ruben Tejada. And the slider off the plate, and now it's 3-2. So now the merry-go-round will be in motion. Beltran, Murphy, and Polino get set to take off with 3-2 and 2 down. And Tejada flares one over the second baseman, base hit. Beltran and Murphy score. Polino to third, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead. Neil Walker got all confused about how hard that ball was hit, and it just sailed over his head as Tejada plates a pair.
Boy, I don't know if he caught a knuckleball or what, but his first move was 2 steps in. It should have been 2 steps back, and he would have been able to make that play. Good job by Tejada, staying inside that baseball, putting it in play. Good things can happen.
So the Mets putting together 4 hits. They've got 2 runs home here in the 4th, and now Capuano, who hit a broken bat pop up to short his first time, and takes a fastball for a strike.
Said the runners are moving, so easily the 2 runners are going to score. First to third, of course, for Ronnie Polino.
Capuano hits the comebacker. Correa secures it with 2 hands and makes the play to end the inning, but Tejada's 2-run single puts the Mets and Capuano in front 2-0 as we go to the 5th. Lead of the game on Ruben Tejada's 2-out bases loaded single. Chris Capuano back to the mound, staked with the lead. Will take on Matt Diaz, Chris Snyder, and Lyle Overbay in the top of the 5th. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, guys, I'm watching that Tejada at bat that put the Mets in front, and I'm thinking about what I talked about last night. Had the conversation yesterday with Dave Hudgens, the hitting coach for the Mets, about Tejada, and he said, I just need him to be comfortable going deep in counts. You know, if he swings early in the count, first pitch, as long as it's a good pitch, it's okay, but sometimes he doesn't do that. I need him to be able to go deep in counts if need be, and then find his pitch. 3-2 count there, 2 outs. He also said he wants him to hit more line drives, not balls in the air. Well done by Tejada, according to Dave Hudgens.
Well, just think about the 3 sliders in a row to start him off that he was able to lay off before he finally got himself a couple of pitches to hit.
And that's kind of what he said, Gary. He said, you know, he kind of had the clock in his head, like first 3 pitches, regardless if there's a good pitch, I'm going to swing. So it's kudos.
Diaz takes ball 1. Diaz had a base hit to center field his first time up. One of 3 hits for the Pirates off Capuano. Matt is now 33 years old. And of course, Met fans know him as a Brave. Remember the team that drafted him in the first round?
I don't.
Tampa Bay.
Really?
Back in '99, he was a first round pick. Actually made his big league debut as a Ray. I guess it was a Devil Ray.
Is he a Miami guy?
Yeah, Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State.
Hit hard down to third. Harris knocks it down with his body. Does he have enough time? He does. Well, that's a classic third baseman play. Knock it down with your chest and make the strong throw.
But Willie has showed a lot of guts over there at third base so far. A couple of fine plays in the first game of this series. Has enough on this throw to just barely get Diaz. Nice stretch by Murph.
Well, the Mets continue to play some outstanding defense. Last inning it was Bay and Tejada and Polino, and now Harris and Murphy combining on that one. Now Chris Snyder, who popped up to short his first time up.
Well, I will tell you, I think it helps when you have a pitcher out there who throws strikes, works quick. Harris usually plays on the line when Capuano's pitching, protect against those sliders and changeups.
It is really interesting, isn't it? The Mets right now have their entire infield, at least on some level, playing out of position. You know, you got 2 starters gone for a long period of time. That's off the foot of Snyder, a foul ball. Then you got Reyes out for a few days. And yet everybody seems to be contributing defensively. Bay with that fine play. Tejada taking his time and making that flip. Polino with the great throw to get Walker on the stolen base attempt. And the Mets need every bit of that. They played awfully good defense for a makeshift team.
Well, I think they had maybe every, not right, but a lot of teams I've seen can go to a place where, woe is me, we've lost some of our best players, but Terry Collins wouldn't allow it. He had team meetings about it. He said, guys, if you are in a big league uniform, you got to play like a big leaguer. We have to win ball games, and that's probably why they had that 14 and 13 May.
Well, you said some teams. Well, I think that's what happened with this team a couple of years ago, is that it was all about who's coming back, how far away are they, how do we survive until they come back, rather than we're going to win with the guys who are here right now, or we're going to try our darndest if we don't.
My favorite, and I've said this to you before, is when Jim Leland for the Tigers was asked by the trainer, do you want to watch one of your pitchers play long toss? He goes, long toss? I'll watch him when he can throw 60 feet 6 inches. I don't care about him and his long toss. I like that attitude.
And of course, you know, with Terry Collins, part of the job of the manager is to provide the daily updates on, you know, Ike Davis getting in the boot and David Wright going to the doctor and when's Jose coming back from the bereavement leave. And he has to do all those things. And it's a fine line to avoid falling into thinking more about the guys who aren't here than the guys who are. These guys will all be back eventually. 3-2 from Capuano, and Snyder fouls off the changeup.
Although he did say on Thursday night, you said something about David having some checkups on Friday. He said on Thursday night he might say a little prayer or two.
He's kept his sense of humor intact. It's certainly been a lesson for Terry. I mean, it is for any manager managing in New York for the first time to deal with the media horde that's attendant to being manager here. Too high, and Snyder's on with the walk. First walk given up by Capuano. But, you know, especially this year with all the off-field stuff that's happened with ownership and all the injuries that the Mets have had to work around, there's been so much thrown at Terry in a very short period of time. And I have to tell you, you can't handle it any better and with a better sense of humor than he has.
Well, there's the numbers on Terry. Wasn't he asked at some point this season, did he want the grass 1 1/4 or 7/8 of an inch? He said, I have to make that decision too.
He said we compromised at 1 inch. He said I didn't want the hitters to be upset. I didn't want the pitchers to be upset. Actually, that was in reference to a question about the dimensions here. And, you know, talking about the fact the Mets haven't hit home runs at all lately without some of their big boppers. And he said, well, you know, the dimensions give and the dimensions take away.
You know, the first win the Mets got on the first night against Pittsburgh, the great play by Angel Pagan would have been a home run any place. And then the next night he hit a ball that probably is a home run any place, but was taken away.
Good slider by Capuano, 1-2 to Overbay. Yeah, Pagan made his catch about the same place that McCutchen made his catch on Bay tonight. Talking to Pagan, he says he loves playing the outfield here. He says you have a chance to make plays you can't make anywhere else.
Yeah.
He said you never stop running. And he said that in a good way. You know, normally in most ballparks, you have a certain number of steps that you're going to take before you get to the warning track and eventually the wall. Here, there never seem to be enough steps to get to there. Not if you're playing center field. On the outside corner, and Overbay is down looking. Second strikeout for Capuano tonight. 2 out in the inning.
Well, nice pitch here by Chris, right on the corner, a little slider away. Nice job by Paulino. Ball might have been off the plate, and he brought it back about 4 or 5 inches.
He's had some company in there tonight. That's Kerwin Dantley's side of the plate. That's how Willie Harris got called out on strikes.
You know, it's interesting to see with 2 outs here that Daniel Murphy's holding on Chris Snyder, a guy that certainly is not going to run. But Capuano's move is so good. Maybe you have to stay close in case Snyder gets a little runnerish over there.
Do you ever pick off a guy like Snyder who is never runs?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are guys you can get because they don't pay attention. They're used to no one throwing over there. Some of those guys don't even know how to get back.
I will never forget during the League Championship Series in 1999 when the Mets had Kenny Rogers. Rogers' move was so good that when Andrew Jones got on first base, he would keep his foot on the bag.
Little League style.
Like Little League. I've never seen it before, and I haven't seen it since. But he was so intimidated by the move of Kenny Rogers that he just gave up and decided he wouldn't take a lead. Now, of course, he knew how to draw a walk from Kenny, as it turned out. That's how the series ended.
I thought you'd be over that by now.
Nobody. Come on. 2-1 to Cedeno. That was, I mean, it was a great year because the Mets were dead so many times, had to sweep the final series against the Pirates to force a 1-game playoff and won that and got the walk-off homer from Pratt, who was playing because Piazza was hurt, and fell behind 3-0 to the Braves and got 2 incredible wins. But with all that being said, when you get knocked out, especially that way, it hurts. 5-4 on the force play to end the inning. 2-0 New York. post-game coverage of tomorrow's Mets-Pirates series finale, plus a preview of Friday's series opener against the Braves with live reports and insider info in the Wheelhouse, presented by Pepsi, part of the New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 5:30 on SNY. Top of the batting order for New York in the home fifth inning. Pagan, Turner, and Beltran. Angel was 1 for 2. Single to start the first inning. Took a call third strike in the third. Mets got both their runs in the fourth, where they loaded them up. And Ruben Tejada delivered a 2-out, 2-run hit. Little tapper up along the first baseline goes foul. Well, let's see. The Mets have gone 10 straight games without a home run. First time since 1980. They've gone 10 straight home games without a home run. The first time since 1979. So who's going to break the streak? Who's going to hit the home run that breaks those streaks? Will it happen before the Mets leave town Sunday night? I got one. Here's what it's going to be.
Okay.
Tomorrow afternoon, Jose Reyes inside the park.
There you go. To start the game?
Okay.
All
right, you choose one.
No, but then you'll have your crack staff will, have to say
the last time they hit one out of the park.
There you go. So.
Or maybe later in the game he'll hit one out of the park. Or maybe Angel will hit one right here. That's why we keep watching. 3-1 down to Pagan with Turner and Beltran to follow. Correa has walked only one, but he's had 3 or 4 3-1 counts now, and that's not usually the way he attacks things. Beltran got a hit on a 3-1 pitch to get that fourth inning rally started. And Pagan takes high ball 4, so that's 2 walks issued by Correa. And this one comes leading off an inning. That's only the 3rd walk leading off an inning that Correa has given up this season in 81 innings. So the Mets will try and take advantage of it with Justin Turner. Turner twice has bounced out to the left side. Well, let's see whether Pagan can get a good enough read to try and swipe one against Correa. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, the running game is so different than it was, say, 20 years ago. The steal sign was used so much more back then. I talked to Chip Hale about it. He said, we rarely use it anymore. He said it was used much more when I played. I use the stop sign more than the steal sign now. I'll put on the stop sign if it's a must-run count. So if it's a lefty, a strikeout pitcher, or something like that. The thing is, with the steal sign, he said, guys, when you put it on with a good base stealer like Pagan, they feel then like they have to go, and really they have to do their due diligence. Know the time of the pitch of the plate, read the pitcher, that type of thing, get a good lead, and know you get a good jump. That's up to the player. He said when we will put a steal sign on, if it's a marginal type runner who may be hesitant to go in a situation we need him to go, then we'll put that sign on.
Diving back.
Well, I found that there's probably a lot more situational stealing in the day. I think the stealing today is what is the pitcher's move to the plate? How does the catcher throw? Can I get a good jump? Put everything in your favor so you keep your percentage very, very high.
And Pagan is picked off. Overbay runs him down, and that's the first out of the inning. Well, Correa does a very good job of controlling the running game. That's the 4th caught stealing with Correa on the mound this year.
Well, you know what Correa does is he just varies his moves. He doesn't have a particularly great move to first, but sometimes he'll go quick to the plate. Sometimes he'll hold it for a long time, is what he did to Angel right there.
So Pagan is erased. 0-1 the count to Turner with 1 out. talk about situational stealing, and the classic example was the game Saturday here with the Mets and the Phillies. The Mets stole 5 bases early in the game because they had a nice read on Cole Hamels, but the Phillies stole the bases they needed in the 8th inning to win the game.
Well, you know, the Rollins and Utley steal. Utley proceeded to third on the Polino error. What happened there is that some of the blame has to go against your relief pitchers. When they come in a game like that, Mike O'Connor was the first, and he knows this better than anyone. You've got to make sure that Rollins knows that he has your full attention, while you also have attention to the plate. And then on Isringhausen, of course, Utley stole on the first pitch.
Turner pops one up, and Neil Walker settles under this one. One-hands it. The ball almost rolled down the palm of his glove.
You know what I'm saying? It's relief pitchers, it's very difficult. They come in and they have to get that hitter out, and it's usually pressure and people on base, but you have to have wherewithal. It's an entire game out there. So you're coming right into the middle of having to hold runners close. Make sure you don't let them get into scoring position as well as getting your outs.
2 out and nobody on. Now Beltran is 1 for 2, singled and scored in the 4th inning. Carlos takes a rip at a fastball, 0-1, and he was ready for that first pitch fastball. 21 batters for Correa tonight, 17 first pitch strikes.
And many of them have been fastballs. He just throwing much harder, much sharper than I've ever seen him throw.
First came up with the Giants, and they really weren't sure what to do with him, whether he was a starting pitcher, whether it was a relief pitcher.
You know, all these starting pitchers come into their own at different times. You know, it's when that brawn meets the brain, and everything comes together, and it seems like it's come together so far this year for Correa.
Hope to short hop by Cedeno, and Correa has himself a 3-batter inning after he picked off Pagan. We've played 5 now, and the Mets sport a 2-0 lead. Information with a complete breakdown of tonight's Mets-Pirates matchup, plus constantly updated team news and rumors on Mets blog presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Well, Chris Capuano out to pitch the 6th inning, working with a 2-0 lead. The opposing pitcher, Kevin Correa, now 0 for 25, looking for his first hit, but Jason Bay over there to grab it and make it 0 for 26 for Correa, who hit that ball fairly solidly.
Interesting, though, Gary, when you're a starting pitcher and game's 2-0, and you're losing, you don't really want to swing at the first pitch. Not that you're going to work the pitcher at all. He's probably going to punch you out on 3 pitches. But certainly don't want to make 1 out on 1 pitch.
Well, especially now that Capuano has thrown only 60 pitches through 5 1/3 innings, an extremely low pitch count. There's Jose Tabata, who's 0 for 2, bluffing a bunt. He takes a strike. Capuano in his last start threw just 78 pitches in 6 innings, but then was pulled for a pinch hitter in a tie game. I have a feeling that Terry's going to go a lot further with him tonight. Tabata hits one foul down the right side, 0-2. Let's check in with Kevin.
We were talking about the running game last half inning, guys, with Chip Hale on the steal sign. Well, you look at Tabata at the plate, a big focus for him is stolen bases. He had 19 of them with the Pirates last year, 44 all told. You include the minor leagues, but that wasn't enough for him. He asked for help in spring and wanted to get better. So he talked to Pirates first base coach Luis Silverio, that is, and Silverio told me that there were 2 things. Number 1, confidence. Even though he stole those bases, he still wasn't completely sure of himself. The other thing they worked on was the lead. He was timid to get a bigger lead, and my message to him, he said, was simple. You can get a big lead if you dive back to first base every time. You've got to dive back. You can't tiptoe back in. And that's interesting. That's what we saw with Daniel Murphy last night. This one deep to right, but Beltran corrals it for out number 2. So they worked together in spring training, worked on getting that big lead, and once he started being able to show that he could survive that lead, he feels like he's going to get better and better as a base stealer.
Tabata's only scratched the surface of his talent. He's got some great talent, and once he learns all the little intricacies of the game, he's going to be some kind of player.
He's only 22 years old. He's got a long way to go, and he got off to a great start this season with the bat. Has tailed off a little bit since then, but I think properly placed now in that leadoff spot. They had McCutchen hitting leadoff earlier, and McCutchen might be better off being a leadoff hitter too, but in this lineup he's got about third. And that's where Clint Hurdle has him now. Josh Harrison strokes one foul. It's 0-2.
How about Tabata asking for the help, guys? I mean, I thought that was pretty impressive that he came up and did steal a decent amount of bags last year.
Well, the guy he asked, Luis Silverio, what's his lifetime major league batting average?
Only .545.
How about that?
6 for 11 for the 1978 Kansas City Royals. His teammate on that team, Clint Hurdle.
Reach for a tap foul. Here's what I want to know. If you hit .545 in the big leagues, how is that your only season?
That's right.
How do you not at least get a crack, a cup of coffee the next year?
Well, he was an infielder. Do you know the infielders for that Kansas City team in those days?
Let me see. You had Frank White at second.
Yeah.
You had
Freddie Patek at short. And they had a pretty good guy at third base.
Brett?
Yeah, a little left-handed hitter.
That might be a problem. But they had backups.
Something tells me, guys, when Luis is, talking to whoever it is he's talking baseball with, he's not bringing up 6 for 11. He's bringing up 545.
I was just talking about that today. He'll tell everybody for the rest of his life that he had .545 in the big leagues. It's kind of like Ray Searage, the Pirates pitching coach, and his 1,000 Mets batting average and 1,000 winning percentage.
I never say I hit 2 home runs in the big leagues. I always say I hit home runs in back-to-back games.
There you go.
That means there's a lot of downtime there.
1-2 from Capuano, and he bounces one to Harrison. 2-2.
With that, between Keith and I, we have 12 gold gloves. I use all that stuff. It works.
Well, at least you're better than Henry Mathewson, because Christie and Henry Mathewson had 345 big league wins between them. Christie had 345 and Henry was 0-1. And a great grab by Capuano to end the inning. Harrison broke his bat, but Capuano still had to react and reach across his body to snag that liner. division of pitching and defense in this game. The only run scoring on a soft hit by Ruben Tejada. 2-0 New York as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Jason Bay, both the perpetrator and the victim of a great defensive play tonight. Robbed by McCutchen in the 1st and did the robbing himself on Harrison in the 4th. And Kevin Correa just keeps on getting ahead. 22 batters, 18 first pitch strikes. It'll be Bay, Murphy, and Polino for the Mets as they try and add on here in the 6th. And a soft ground ball for Cedeno to handle. One away. Let's check in with Chris Carlin, who has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Mike Stanton now has 12 home runs, and he is going to be a force to be reckoned with in this division for a long time to come. Was it 21?
Yes.
Daniel Murphy takes a strike.
He just has the kind of power you can't teach. I mean,
you know, we used to say pretty routinely that nobody hit the ball harder than Gary Sheffield. I don't know who #1 is in that category now, but Stanton's got to be on the list.
Yeah.
When he hits the ball, I mean, it's scary.
Disappears.
Murphy 1 for 2, single to right, scored a run in the 4th inning. Check out the Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Day game tomorrow with Mike Pelfrey against Paul Maholm. Then the Braves are in for the weekend before the Mets go to Milwaukee, to Pittsburgh for 4, finishing on a Monday night, and then to Atlanta for 3. So a 10-game homestand followed by a 10-game road trip. Line the other way, and Murphy's got another multiple hit game. Cut off nicely by Tabata. So Murphy with 10 hits now in his last 4 games.
Well, Correa's shaking his head, but Murph is locked in right now. Nice short stroke. Head right on the baseball and driving that ball to left field.
Well, he couldn't have picked a better time to get on a hot streak with all the pieces that the Mets are missing right now. He's now up to 291 on the year. Been a quick climb for Murph. 1 out and 1 on for Polino, who's walked and had an infield hit, and he hits a double play ball right to Cedeno. Easy as pie. Walker turns it 6-4-3 to win the inning. 6 in the books. 2-0 New York. question for tonight. The two players who hold the National League record for batting titles. 8 batting titles in the National League. Which two players hold that mark?
Well, one pretty recent. Not pretty recent. 10 years ago or so.
Okay.
All right. Southern California.
Yeah. A cue shot. Murphy has it spit off his glove, and he gets it to Capuano, but I don't think Chris ever touched the bat. And McCutchen is safe. That ball had so much spin coming off the bat.
Well, what happens here is a good throw by Murphy, but this ball comes at such a strange angle, a little bit past or behind Capuano, that he could not scrape his foot on that first base bag until McCutchen had gone through. When you're running to first base, this is a strange angle to catch a throw as a pitcher. So it's hard to really time it to catch that bag and catch the ball all at the same time with a runner like McCutchen behind you. Misses it the first time, scrapes back with his foot, but too late.
Waiting to see how they score that. I assume that's got to be an infield hit. Mercedes-Benz Ultramo, brought to you by your Tri-State dealer, on the web at searchmercedes.com. Now Neil Walker with McCutchen aboard for the 3rd straight time. If that is a hit, he's 3 for 3, and that would be 3 of the 4 Pittsburgh hits. Walker has hit the ball hard twice, but has nothing to show for it, and it is a hit for McCutchen. Walker lined out to center, and then Tejada made a great diving stop behind the bag and got a force play in the 4th. And he pushes a bunt. Charging Harris with the bare hand play. Safe. So a bunt hit for Neil Walker. It's the last thing the Mets were expecting from the Pirate cleanup hitter, and he pulled it off perfectly.
Boy, he did. Harris was playing back. By the time he came in, Walker enough speed that his play not even close at first base. And you're right, Gary. The element of surprise is what caught Willie and the Mets.
So that puts the tying runs aboard for the Pirates with nobody out, with McCutchen at second and Walker at first. 2 hits without the ball leaving the infield, and now Matt Diaz will bat. Diaz is singled to left center and grounded out to third on a hard hit ball. That's playing as though they expect Diaz to bunt as Pedro Beato gets up. I can't believe he'd be bunting. And he takes the slider in the dirt for ball 1. I mean, Matt Diaz he was put on this earth to swing the bat.
That's right. Well, you see the defense. Willie Harris playing even with the bag and on the line, which really opens up that hole because Tejada's keeping the runner McCutchen close to second base, and Diaz, for my money, off a left-hander, mostly a pull hitter.
Little dribbler, tough play for Capuano, and he can't make it, and the bases are loaded. 3 scratch hits, and the Pirates have the bases loaded and nobody out.
Well, what can you say? There's nothing to say here. Just a full swing by Diaz. Capuano, who usually fields his position well, I don't know if he would have got him anyway, tried to get that ball with his glove, and by that time lost control of it.
We've seen him, and I think we saw it in his last start, make a sliding play on a ball hit like that.
That's a better play for the left-handed pitcher, because not only do you get to the ball quicker, but it also stops your momentum, and you can get up and throw that ball to first base.
So he's in a pickle now with a power hitter, Chris Snyder, coming up. The bases are loaded and nobody out. From a Mets standpoint, the positive here is you've got a prime double play candidate if you can get Snyder to hit the ball on the ground. So Beato starts to loosen a little more. Now, Capuano's done nothing wrong in this inning. He's given up a lot of hard hit balls in this game, but not here in the 7th.
The weird part of that play is, and you can't ask your third baseman to do it, but if you ever know that you have a great athlete on the mound, third baseman stays put, you have a little force play at third base, but it's possible to ask Harris to do that, especially being an outfielder, being his first position.
McCutchen now at third, Walker at second, and Diaz at first. The Mets, I'm sure, will play back at double play depth, happily trade a run for 2 outs. Snyder tonight has popped a short and walked 0 for 1. And he takes the first pitch changeup for a strike. Lyle Overbay on deck. The only left-hand hitter in the lineup for the Pirates tonight. So Capuano facing his first real crisis in this game, working with a 2-0 lead in the 7th.
Bouncing ball. The play will be at third, and they safe. He had a forced play, but instead went for the tag. Everybody's safe, but one comes in. It's 2-1, and Terry Collins out to argue the call. Doug Eddings, the third base umpire, ruling Walker safe at third.
Well, the play is for Tejada to go to third base and just step on the bag. The difficult part for Harris is he's scuffling to get back. Does he tag the bag? No, he doesn't. Does he tag Walker? Yes, he does, but too late. What he has to do is forget about the tag. Find the bag with your foot.
Well, he didn't get the bag, and he didn't get the tag down in time. It certainly looked like a good call. Terry Collins continues to argue, but that will be an infield hit, the 4th consecutive infield hit for the Pirates in the first Pittsburgh run.
Watch this right toe, Gary. Does it get on there at all on the end of that bag and scrape across the top? I don't know.
If it did, why would he try to make the tag?
Exactly. Well, he didn't know where he was at. He was kind of lost there. And there's no way Eddings is going to see that either.
Well, once he goes to make the tag, that tells Eddings that there's no way that he touched the bag. So the bases remain loaded. Now the tying run is at third. The potential go-ahead run at second. Overbay is 0 for 2. He's bounced into a double play and taken a call third strike, and the Mets will continue to play the infield back, willing to let the tying run score to get a double play. And Overbay lays off 1-0. There's the Coors Light freeze cam. Ball in the glove. He has his foot on the bag.
Looks like he's got a big toe on there. But you're right. Once he reaches down the tag, it lets Eddings know that Harris feels he did not get on that base.
And from the angle Eddings is at, there's no way he could see that toe on the bag. The rest of his foot is blocking it. An unbelievable inning. Starting with McCutchen hitting a cue shot. Murphy couldn't handle it and then made the toss to Capuano, who couldn't find the bag. Walker had the bunt single.
Overbay drives one toward right center. Pagan over. Can't make the play. It rolls away. Walker scores the tying run. Diaz stops at third. Everybody moves up one base. The Pirates have tied the game. Pagan came close, but could not pick it off.
Well, got in that gap, went for the dive, and just off the end of the glove for Angel Pagan. Boy, it almost looks like he was in between the dive or trying to catch it on the run. Did neither.
It's an inning of almosts for the New York Mets. Terry Collins is going to make a pitching change. That's the first ball well struck in the inning against Chris Capuano, who got about as unlucky as a pitcher can get. 4 straight infield hits, followed by that base hit by Overbay. The game is tied. Capuano leaves with the bases loaded, and Beato will come into the mess. The call to the bullpen is brought to you by Lincoln. 2-2 as we play in the 7th at Citi Field. Double switch. Josh Tolley will catch and bat ninth. Pedro Beato will pitch and hit sixth in this strangest of seventh innings.
It really is. A little bit of everything for Pedro Beato. He's going to try to come in and stop all this madness. His last outing was against the Phillies. Got 4 outs, but gave up a run and a couple of hits.
Gave up a run-scoring double to Ben Francisco in that game. So let's see how the Mets play it here. It's a 2-2 game in the 7th. They'll keep Turner and Tejada most of the way back, with the option to come home on a hard hit ball. Corners in against Ronnie Cedeno. Bases loaded, nobody out, and the curveball in for a strike. Overbay got the hit to tie the game. What did the base runners do?
Well, Matt Diaz is the problem on second base. Watch what he does. He goes back to tag up. That really destroys scoring 2 for Pittsburgh, because he's only able to go base to base. Good job by Snyder not running past him.
0-2 now to Cedeno, who's 0 for 2 on the day. McCutchen started it with a cue shot that curled off Murphy's glove. Then his throw was behind Capuano, who couldn't find the base. Walker laid down a bunt hit. Diaz took a full swing and dribbled one toward third that went for an infield hit. Snyder hit one to the left side, and Harris couldn't find the bag at third, and then Overbay drove in the tying run. Unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen an inning quite like this. Saw Xavier Paul waiting on deck, left-hand hitter. Diaz, Snyder, and Overbay, the base runners. Not any speed on the bases now for the Pirates, so that could come into play. On a play at the plate. 0-2 to Cedeno, and he waves at the slider. Strike 3. A big strikeout for Beato. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, these are the kind of pitchers you want coming in this situation. Guys with dominating stuff, 95 plus, and the ability when they get ahead to have a breaking pitch they can put right-handed hitters away. Beato did that.
So now Paul, the former Dodger, will pinch in. He has pinch hit in both games of the series so far, flied out and struck out. So Kevin Correa is out of the game. His only chance to win is if the Pirates get another run across the plate here in the 7th. Chris Resop up in the Pittsburgh bullpen. Capuano out of the game, cannot win and could lose. Ball chases a pitch out of the strike zone, 0-1.
Interesting pitch up in the strike zone here to Paul. Kind of beats him, but I'm not sure if that was a fastball at 89 miles an hour.
Not sure it was the pitch or the location that Beato wanted, but it worked for him. Things have been a little bit uneven for Pedro since he's come back from the disabled list. Well, the Mets on this homestand have lost 3 games where they led after 7 innings. Tonight they led after 6, and just trying to keep the game tied now in the 7th. So the late innings have not been kind to the Mets, particularly lately. Now it's 2-1 to Xavier Paul with Jose Tabata waiting on deck. Mets bullpen over the last 9 games has had an earned run average of 11.29. So things have gotten ugly for a unit that was thriving for the better part of the season.
Pedro's got that good 2-seam fastball. That is the pitch he's going to have to use here behind the count with the bases loaded.
And Paul rockets one to right. In comes Beltran, but he'll have to play it on a hop. He knocks it down. Diaz comes in to score. Everybody else moves up a base, and the Pirates have taken the lead 3-2. The 6th hit of the inning. Xavier Paul, as a pinch hitter, drives home the lead run.
And Beltran fortunate that ball didn't get behind him.
Well, it's like video baseball, 1 ball at a time. Carlos trying to come in to make the great play, got caught in between, and just somehow got his body and his hip in front of that ball to keep it in front of him.
So the bases remain loaded, still 1 out. 3 runs home in the inning. And here's Tabata, who's 0 for 3 tonight. His day began in the outfield during batting practice, getting hit in the face by an errant line drive. It bloodied his nose. He stayed down on the ground for a while and was helped off the field, but was not scratched from the lineup. And now a chance to open up a lead for the Pirates. They're already up 3-2. Ball to strike to Tabata. Snyder now at third, Overbay at second, and Paul at first. 4 straight infield hits began the inning. And then hits by Overbay and Paul tied it and gave the Pirates the lead. With fastball running in on Tabata, and that gets Beato ahead 1-2. Josh Harrison, the rookie third baseman, waiting on deck. So Correa now stands to get his 8th win of the year.
Maybe that's how you win, go 6-1 on the road. Little luck too.
Here's the 1-2. Bouncing ball to third. Harris is going to go to second with it. Can they turn it? No. That's a ball you got to come home with it. Not hit hard enough to turn 2. And so the Pirates add a run. It's 4-2. That's the mental mistake by Willie Harris. Turner tried his best to make that turn at second and took a hard hit.
Well, it's one of those that you have to know your base runner. Tabata has too much speed. Let Justin Turner stay in there, try to do all he can to turn that double play. Gets upended with that slide by Xavier Paul. That ball, you got to come home. You have a real slow runner, Snyder. It's going to take too long to develop, and Tabata with that great speed.
Now, once you get that long hop like that, you know there's no way you can get 2 by way of second.
Well, you mentioned it before, Gary, or people out of position.
So that catches up with the Mets on that play. There goes Tabata. Totally makes the throw, but not nearly in time. And Tabata has his 14th stolen base. And Beato didn't even give him a look. There's that play at first on the attempted double play.
Four runs home in the inning, 2 more in scoring position for Harrison, and he bounces one toward the hole. Tejada smothers it. That'll keep the second run from scoring, but in to score from third is Overbay, and now it's 5-2 Pittsburgh. The 5th infield hit of this inning.
Good play by Tejada just to smother it and make sure that another run didn't score.
Well, you're right about that. Whenever there's runners on second and third, you want 2 outs. You want to dive and keep that ball in the infield. Nice job by Tejada, but the Mets victimized by these infield hits.
There have been 7 hits in the inning. 5 of the 7 have been infield hits. All 5 runs are charged to Chris Capuano. Now McCutchen with first and third and 2 out. And he takes a strike. And again, Beato didn't even look at the base runner at first. You got Harrison over there, who had 8 steals in AAA before he was called up.
Well, you'd like to see your relievers at least a courtesy throw over there to let Harrison know that he's being watched.
He faked to third and throw to first play. Doesn't catch Harrison that way.
Well, so these are the little things we see from, you know, a Rule 5 draftee, the little intricacies of the game of holding runners on. Pedro looks a little uncomfortable doing that.
And a good curveball gets him ahead on McCutchen. Chris Reesop ready to pitch the bottom of the inning. The Pirates now 3 runs to the good. Last night the Mets couldn't get a base runner against the Pittsburgh bullpen. See if they can fare better tonight, as again they've let a late lead get away.
And a swing and a miss. McCutchen down on strikes to end the inning. But 10 Pirates came to bat. 7 hits in the inning. 5 of them were infield hits, including this one for Chris Snyder. Willie Harris couldn't find the bag, and the Mets failed to get it out. Overbay with a big hit. 5 runs in the inning, and the Pirates are up 5-2.
bases. I don't think they said give me your infield hits. But Lady Liberty looking beautiful in the harbor. SNY is giving back to local youth baseball leagues with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Sports Authority, offering $5,000 grants to in-need organizations to be used for new equipment, uniforms, or field improvements. The deadline to apply is June 15th. For details, visit SNY.TV or any local Sports Authority location. Changes for the Pirates. Brandon Wood comes in to play third base. He'll hit number 5 in the order. Xavier Paul stays in the game in right field. He's in the 9 hole. And the pitcher, Chris Resop, will bat second.
Claimed off for waivers from Atlanta last season in August. Appeared in 22 games for the Pirates this season. Gave up a couple home runs.
Resop has pitched in the big leagues with the Marlins, the Dodgers, and the Braves. Probably pitched better for the Pirates last year than he had in any of those previous stops, but he's been up and down so far this season. Willie Harris will lead off for the Mets in the bottom of the 7th as they try and climb uphill after letting a 2-0 lead get away. Harris, Tejada, and Tolley, 7, 8, and 9 in the order, due up for the Mets in the 7th. Harris has been up twice in this game and struck out both times. And he takes a strike from Resop. So Kevin Correa, now pitcher of record on the long side. He went 6 innings. He allowed 2 runs and 6 hits, so that's 13 straight games now that Pirate starters have allowed 2 earned runs or less. Correa walked 2. He struck out 4. You know the last time that the Pirates had 13 straight games where their starters allowed 2 runs or less? 1968. In their rotation in 1968, Steve Blass, Doc Ellis, Bob Veal, Bob Moose, who the next year would pitch a no-hitter against the Mets, Al McBean, and an aging Jim Bunning. It's a pretty good rotation.
Yeah.
2-2 now to Harris. So Correa has a chance to be the Major League's first 8-game winner this season. Meanwhile, on the other side, Chris Capuano pitched a brilliant game tonight, and he'll wind up with an ugly pitching line. Harris strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the David Wright Foundation's 5th annual Las Vegas night tomorrow at the South Street Seaport in Manhattan. Individual tickets can be purchased by visiting DavidWrightFoundation.com. By Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. And by Verizon Fios. Switch to Fios and network ahead to learn more. Visit Verizon.com/getFios. Capuano will be charged with 5 runs and 8 hits over 6 innings plus. All 5 runs in that 7th inning go against his ledger, even though he did almost nothing wrong in that inning. And that's the way it goes sometimes as a pitcher.
Sometimes box scores speak the truth. Sometimes they don't.
Ruben Tejada drove in the only 2 Met runs tonight with a bases loaded single in the 4th. Just floated one over the head of Neil Walker, who seemed to misjudge it. Otherwise, the Mets might have not have scored in that inning. Josh Tolley, who came in on the double switch, is in the 9th spot of the order. He's on deck. And Resop gets one over, 2-1. I mean, there's a part of this game that feels very much like last night's game, with the way R.A. Dickey pitched for the first 7 innings.
You're like, how could it go wrong so fast, so quickly?
Well, there was a touch of absurdity to that top of the 7th tonight, with Murphy making the toss that did not enable Capuano to find the bag, and then Tejada making the throw to 3rd, and Harris didn't find the bag. And how often do you have that kind of thing happen twice in an inning? Bounce to the right side, and Walker gives ground. Gets Tejada 2 out. What the Mets need to do is somehow find a way to do something against the Pittsburgh bullpen. Last night, Evan Meek, Jose Veras, and Joel Hanrahan each threw a 1-2-3 innings, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Well, I know it's only a tiny part of that inning, and it began the inning. But the Mets at some point are going to have to corral Murph in a little bit. His reaction to field every ground ball, I understand, great aggressiveness. But in the scorecard, that's a simple 4-3. The ground ball hit that slowly.
But how about this also on that particular ground ball? That if he's going to field it on a ball that's a cue shot that you know is spinning, you got to use two hands.
Yeah. Well, you know, the first basemen are taught with the big gloves this year a lot of first-hand, one-handed fielding.
And most of the time that's the correct play. But you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
That's spinning like that?
Almost have to smother it against the glove. But you know, still, it's you know, it's a work in progress. But that ground ball is an easy 4-3 usually in your scorecard.
0-2 to Tolley. And he takes one on the inside corner, strike 3 call. So Chris Rhysop adds his name to the list of Pirate relievers who've thrown 1, 2, 3 innings. This season, subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Neil Walker will lead off for the Pirates in the 8th inning. The Pirates sent 10 men to bat in the 7th, and Walker had the headiest play of the inning. The Pirates were down 2-0. McCutchen had just reached on an infield hit. And with the third baseman Willie Harris playing back, Walker alertly laid down a perfect bunt for a base hit that put the tying runs on base. Walker's 1 for 3 for the night. Mike O'Connor up in the Mets bullpen. Pedro Beato gave him 2 hits and struck out 2 in the 7th. Allowed all 3 inherited runners to score. Jose Veras up in the Pirates bullpen. And Kerwin Danley
asking for the trainer, Kerwin Danley.
He's pointing to the back of his leg as though there's a cramping issue or something like that. Totally out to the mound. I'm not sure who it is that has the issue. Is it Beato? Is it the umpire? What's going on?
Got to be the umpire, right?
Michael Herbst, the trainer.
Salt tablets and some water.
So Beato's okay. His 1-1 pitch to Walker is a changeup that misses. 2-1. There's a strike. 2-2. Brandon Wood getting ready for his first at bat is on deck, and then Chris Snyder for the Pirates in the 8th. See that star on the sleeve of the Pirates uniform with the number 7 in the middle. That's a tribute to the late Chuck Tanner, who passed away in February. Chuck was Pirates manager for the We Are Family world champion Pirates in '79. Got the Pirate emblem on the other sleeve. There's that number 7. Here's the 3-2, and Walker takes ball 4, so Beato walks the leadoff hitter in the 8th. And Chuck Tanner was just a delightful person to be around.
He was just something. I always remember during that World Series in '79, he lost his mom during that series, and used it for his own inspiration and also his team's inspiration, because she had such a fondness and love for that We Are Family team. That was down 3-2, I believe, going back to Baltimore. Willie Stargell wasn't feeling well in Game 7. Bill Robinson, the future hitting coach for the Mets, played a big part in that series. And Kent Tekulve scraping his knuckles.
Brandon Wood up for the first time takes ball 1. You know what I remember from that series? Do you remember Omar Moreno?
Yeah.
Playing center field, and do you remember Omar Moreno's wife in the stands blowing the whistle? They kept showing her on TV all through that series. This is part of the whole We Are Family concept. Del Thayer, the right-hander, gets up alongside O'Connor, the left-hander. Beato behind on Wood 2-0 after walking the leadoff hitter, and Wood attacks the fastball, fouls it back. 2-1. Brandon Wood, a huge prospect with the Angels, who gave him chance after chance after chance over the last 5 years, and then finally gave up on him early this season. The Pirates took a flyer on him, took him on waivers. Snyder on deck.
Beato getting a little under his breaking ball this inning. Fastball's up in the strike zone.
Walker's running. Wood hits it down the left field line, and that's going to settle down for a base hit. Walker to third. He turns, and he'll score easily. And in at second with an RBI double is Brandon Wood, and the Pirates stretch their lead to 6-2. And that's going to be all for Pedro Beato. He gave up 3 inherited runs, none charged to him in the 7th. And now a walk and a double has cost him a run in the 8th. And Terry Collins looks like he's ready to make a double switch.
I think he's coming out to talk about Wood, whether Wood was at the right place in the batting order and trying to get an out. He's not arguing, but having a discussion with Kerwin Danley that he was told where Wood was supposed to be, and he was not there.
Well, 2 players came in at the same time. Hall was already in the game. He stayed in right field. So the 2 players at issue are the pitcher, who came in, Chris Risa, and Wood, who came in to play third base for defense. Now Wood we were told was put in the 5-hole, and the pitcher Resop in the 2-hole, and that's where they batted. And I guess Terry was trying to argue that it was presented to him differently, and if it had been and the Pirates had batted out of order, then that double would have been negated. And the proper batter, had it been the case, Resop would have been out. There are more pages in the baseball rule book devoted to batting out of order than there are devoted to anything else, because it's such, it can become such a ridiculously complicated situation depending on how egregious the batting out of order is. And Snyder takes one off the hand, and he'll go to first base. Well, Terry didn't come out to take Beato out after that double, but he's going to take him out now.
Fastball not even close, running in and plunking Snyder on the tricep.
So Beato faced 3 batters here in the 8th, didn't retire anybody. Tough outing for Pedro. He'll exit, and Mike O'Connor will come in to face the left-hand hitter Lyle Overbay. Pirates have added a run and lead 6-2 in the 8th. We'll be right back. For New York.
His last outing against the Phillies was a tough outing. The first pitch Rollins was able to steal. Then he hung a curveball to Utley that drove in Rollins later in that inning. Won't have that problem with the steal here in this inning.
Comes in with 2 men aboard and nobody out. The Pirates with a run home now lead at 6-2. Lyle Overbay the batter. Wood is at second and Snyder at first with nobody out. Overbay had a big hit in that 5-run 7th for the Pirates. And he lines this one into right center for a first pitch hit. That'll drive home Brandon Wood. And it's 7-2 Pittsburgh. Well, the Pirates are at it again. Overbay with his 2nd RBI hit in the last 2 innings. And O'Connor is greeted rudely yet again.
Well, it's the fight for the pitcher trying to get that first pitch strike. Looked like Overbay sitting on that slider from O'Connor. Nice hitting.
Well, it was a better pitch than the curveball that he threw to Utley.
Yeah, well, that was more of a slider. The problem with the pitch to Utley is that it's his 3rd best pitch. And in that kind of situation, you hate to get beat by your 3rd best pitch.
Still nobody out of the inning, and Ronnie Cedeno, the batter, 0 for 3. 1st and 2nd, and nobody out. And that's off the plate for ball 1. You know, the Mets bullpen, which had been so good, has been just awful now for the last week and a half. Beato, who was just about perfect for the first 6 weeks of the season, has come back from the DL and struggled. He went an inning plus tonight, so far charged with 2 runs on 3 hits. O'Connor, who pitched well his first 3 or 4 outings, has struggled lately. Dale Thayer is up in the bullpen now. Jason Isringhausen's been overworked. He's worked 5 of the last 6 days, and Terry Collins was determined to stay away from him tonight, even if the Mets had had a lead. And now O'Connor behind Cedeno, 3-0. Daniel McCutchen, who took the loss in the opening game of the series, is up in the Pirates bullpen. Well, if the Mets are going to win right now with the depleted lineup they have, they need for their bullpen to get back to where it was. And that's too high, ball 4. So 5 straight Pirates have reached base to start this 8th inning. And now the bases are loaded with nobody out. And Xavier Paul, who had the base hit that put Pittsburgh in front in the 7th inning, will get his second turn at bat. He came up as a pinch hitter, lined a base hit in front of Beltran and Wright to chase home the 3rd Pittsburgh run, and then stayed in the game in right field. Snyder, Overbay, and Cedeno, the base runners. Still nobody out. The bullpen has now allowed 30 earned runs in the last 10 games. 30. And this game isn't over yet. The infield comes in. And Paul takes the slider down, and that's 5 in a row out of the strike zone by O'Connor after giving up the first pitch hit to Overbay. And that's 6 straight balls. Not quite in Justin Berg territory yet.
Well, I think this is the most difficult thing for a manager is when you make pitching changes and you bring your relievers in the bullpen and they can't throw strikes. It just turns over the lineup, changes your whole scenario of what you're trying to accomplish. O'Connor with that 1-0 slider did not get the call. Not a horrible pitch, but have to be able to throw strikes.
And Paul rockets one into right field for another base hit. That'll bring home Snyder. Overbay right behind him. Except he'll stop and go back to 3rd. So they move up 1 base. Paul with his 2nd RBI hit in as many innings, and it's 8-2. Yeah, this is getting really, really ugly. That'll do it for Mike O'Connor, who faces 3 batters and retires none of them. All 3 runs in the inning charged to Pedro Beato. And now Dale Thayer will be the next to try and simply get an out for the Mets here in the 8th. 5 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th for Pittsburgh, and they've blown this game open. We'll be right back.
Dale Thayer makes his third appearance as a Met.
Got an out in last night's game. Got McCutchen, Andrew McCutchen, on a pop-up.
Ground ball. Tejada coming home with it, and a nice pickup by Tolley for the out.
Well, that was well handled. And a nice roar from the crowd, only somewhat sarcastic, as the Mets get an out here in the 8th.
Well, maybe the youngest will lead them. Nice play by Tejada up the middle, wherewithal to get up quickly and fire that ball to the plate. And like a first baseman, Josh Tolley makes, and scoops that ball up with that catcher's glove. Nice play. Both sides.
Well, Josh once was a first baseman during his minor league days, so that served him well. So one away, and now Garrett Jones will bat for the pitcher, Rysop, in the number 2 spot in the batting order. Jones, who started the first 2 games of this series and went 0 for 8, has been struggling at the bat. Bats here with the bases loaded and 1 out. Cedeno is at third, Hall at second, and Tapia at first. The Pirates have had 17 batters in this inning before Jones. 13 of the 7 in the last 2 innings. 13 of the 17 have reached base via hit, walk, or hit by pitch. And 8 runs have scored. Out to left center field, moving over is Pagan. He makes the grab. Cedeno can walk on in with the 4th run of the inning. Sacrifice fly for Garrett Jones makes it 9-2. So now Andrew McCutchen will come to bat. And for the 2nd straight inning, the Pirates will have batted around. They sent 10 men to the plate in the 7th. McCutchen, the 9th man up here in the 8th. McCutchen is 3 for 4 tonight. And Justin Turner gets the force play that finally puts a close to the inning. Pirates tack on 4 and lead it 9-2. Start against Paul Maholm as the Mets wrap up their 4-game set against the Pirates here at Citi Field. Mets Pirates coverage begins with Pepsi Max pregame live tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. only on SNY. Well, the Pirates had never won a game at Citi Field before last night. They're making themselves at home tonight, and Belfry will be looking probably for a split of the series, coming off a terrific effort in his last start against the Phillies.
You know, don't be fooled by those numbers of Maholm. He's pitched much better than that this season. And he can't pitch much better than this Daniel McCutchen has pitched so far this season, although he gave up 2 earned runs in last night's game. He'd only given up 1 before then.
Gave up the 2-run double to Josh Tolley on Monday night. That was the difference.
That's right. 2 nights ago. Sorry.
As the Mets took the lead against McCutchen in the 8th. The Mets in the 7th and 8th innings this season have been outscored 77-36. Better than 2-1 in the 7th and 8th innings of games. Angel Pagan 1 for 2. Singled, struck out, walked. Also got picked off and caught stealing by Kevin Correa, and he takes a strike. Now the Pirate bullpen last night retired 9 in a row. Chris Resop worked a 1-2-3 7th tonight. Now McCutchen trying to keep that string going. And he's ahead on Pagan 0-2. Correa went the first 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, walked 2, struck out 4, and stands to get his major league leading 8th win. Justin Turner on deck, Carlos Beltran to follow. In Cincinnati, the Reds were down 3-2 to the Brewers when they came to bat in the bottom of the 8th. Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, 4-3 Cincinnati.
Wow.
Boy, Bruce has just been on fire.
Well, the guy that has been called the natural looks like this might be the year, his breakout year. He had that incredible start when he was first brought up. Came back to earth a little bit like most young players do, but
Bruce now has 17 home runs. Pagan lifts one into left center. And McCutchen calls. 1 away. Here's Justin Turner. 0 for 4 last night, 0 for 3 tonight. Slider off the plate. Well, there are your National League RBI leaders. That was coming into tonight's attack on 2 more for Bruce. 17 homers, 46 RBIs on the 1st of June. In a pitcher's year.
Turner rockets one to deep left field. Back goes Tabata looking up at the wall, and it's out of here. Justin Turner with his 2nd home run. His 1st at Citi Field. And it cuts the Pirates' lead to 9-3. Well, the Mets finally break their home run drought. It comes when they're 7 runs behind with nobody on base, but they'll take it.
fastball right down the middle to Turner, up in the strike zone.
Last home run the Mets hit was by Daniel Murphy at Yankee Stadium on May the 20th. The last home run they hit in this ballpark was on May the 6th, just Jason Friday against the Dodgers. So that drought is over as Turner goes deep.
Oh, McCutchen is a guy who likes to work down in the strike zone. This ILTV pitch differential almost splits the plate.
So Turner has his 2nd home run, hit the first one in Houston. 1-1 to Beltran, and Carlos takes a strike. Beltran singled and scored back in the 4th.
And that one's hit hard, and a base hit going toward the corner.
And Beltran cruises into second base with his 17th double of the year. So Beltran has his 2nd hit of the night.
Well, McCutchen's had his way with the National League, but certainly not with the Mets. A little slider down and in. Good job of Carlos staying down. Almost lowered his entire body to go get that slider down in the strike zone.
17 doubles for Beltran, now time for the National League lead. So he's at second with 1 out. Here's Jason Bay, who's gone 0 for 3 tonight. The definitive at bat for Bay tonight was his first one. He hit the ball 410 feet to right center, and McCutchen made an incredible catch to rob him of an extra base hit and cost the Mets a run. And Bay pops up the first offering in foul ground over Bay. Runs out of room. 0-1. Daniel Murphy, who has a pair of hits tonight, is on deck. The Mets have 8 hits now, but still a long hill to climb. And Bay lays off. Nope, he went around. 1-2. And Kerwin Danley judging that a swing.
Little slaughter away from McCutchen. I think that's a swing there by Jason. Commits a little too early.
Last night Jason Bay played his first ever game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he foul tips that one, and it's held by Snyder. A strikeout for the second out. So 2 out of the inning. And now Daniel Murphy, who's 2 for 3. And Clint Hurdle's on his way out to the mound, and with a 6-run lead and 2 out of the 8th, he's going to go to a left-hander. These are the moves that puzzle me no end. So McCutchen will exit. Daniel Moscas will come in. We have a pitching change. 9-3 Pittsburgh. Back in a moment. Comes on for the second time in this series.
Well, he was Pittsburgh's first-round selection, 4th pick overall, and the 2007 draft. Tied to 2 hitters he had to face in Monday night's game, stranding an inherited runner.
Comes on to face Daniel Murphy with a runner at second and 2 down. Is there a hotter team right now than the Arizona Diamondbacks? They were down 4-0 against Florida. They've come back to tie it up.
You win every night, it seems like it.
They've won 15 of their last 18. And Kelly Johnson has been especially hot this last week.
Well, he had 4 extra base hits in yesterday's game.
He has 5 homers in the last 8 or 9 games. He has just been on fire the way he was early last year. So here's Murphy with Beltran at second. Takes inside for Moskos. Well, if nothing else, at least the Mets have scratched against the Pirates bullpen, which they failed to do last night. Home run by Turner, double by Beltran against McCutchen here in the 8th. And that one gets away from Snyder, but not too far. And down by 6 runs, Beltran's not going to chance it. Pitcher spot due up next for the Mets, and Scott Hairston is out on deck. Pitcher hitting in the number 6 spot in the order. And Tim Burdack getting ready in the Mets bullpen, going over the Pirates lineup with John Davis, the bullpen coach. It was important for that pitcher to know who's coming up in his inning. Murphy swinging on 2-0, and he fouls off the fastball. 2-1. Smelling the bat.
You know, it smells like burnt wood sometimes when you have a foul ball bat.
Now Moskos steals 2-1. And Murphy takes low inside, 3-1.
That All-Star game in Boston, remember when they brought Ted Williams out and wanted to ask Mark McGwire a question. He says, when you foul a ball back, do you smell burnt wood? And McGwire said he was surprised by the question, but he said, yes, I do.
That was quite a scene, wasn't it?
It was.
All of those all-star players just hungry for a taste of being next to Ted Williams. Murphy hits one to right center field. Hall makes the diving catch. Looked like he misread it a little bit, but made a nice adjustment. Left his feet and came down with the baseball. Nice play by Paul on a night that has featured a ton of fine defensive plays. Turner's home run gets the Mets a little closer, but it's still 9-3 Pittsburgh. Neil Walker leading off the top of the 9th against Dale Thayer. And Walker takes a strike 1-1. Walker with a bunt hit in the big Pirates 7th and a walk leading off the big Pirate 8th. The Mets had a 2-0 lead in this game after 6. Chris Capuano had not allowed a run. He had allowed only 3 hits over the first 6 innings. Had some fine defensive plays made behind him. But it all changed in the 7th when Capuano was victimized by 4 consecutive infield hits to start the inning, and it led to carnage. 5 in the 7th and 4 in the 8th. Those are way too crooked. Line to short, over Tejada. A base hit for Walker, his 2nd of the night. And so Dale Thayer gives up a leadoff hit in the 9th inning.
Well, to say Dale Thayer likes his fastball, I think, is an understatement. I don't think he's thrown in his appearances a breaking ball yet.
I count 30 pitches now over his 3 appearances, and every single one has been a fastball. We should keep a Dale Thayer watch. Wait for the first non-fastball. That's 31. Brandon Wood came in the game for defense, had an at-bat in the 8th inning, doubled to drive in a run, then had his presence in the game challenged by Terry Collins, who thought the Pirates had batted out of order. Harris gets the force at 2nd, but that's all. And so Walker's erased for the first out of the inning. It's not often that you come on for defense late in the game and you get 2 at-bats.
That's right. And that's what happens when you put a 9 spot up in the 7th and 8th inning.
Here's Chris Snyder. Snyder had the base hit that really seemed to start the downward spiral for the Mets in the 7th. 1st and 2nd, and or bases loaded, I should say, and he hit a ball in the hole at short that Tejada ran down, tried to make a play to 3rd. Willie Harris, instead of trying to step on the bag, went for the tag and could not get the tag down in time, and it just got worse from there.
Line toward the middle. Great catch by Turner. And the throw back to first for the double play. Justin Turner with a gem.
Well, otherwise this game has been of little note, but the Mets and Pirates have both made some great defensive plays in this game, the latest one by Turner. Keep it tuned here to SNY for Lincoln Postgame Live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda will have Terry Collins postgame press conference. All the interviews from the clubhouse and all the analysis and highlights as well on Lincoln Postgame Live right after the game. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. 2 NL players with 8 batting titles. Tony Gwynn, you figure 1.
Yeah.
Bill Madlock? Honus Wagner. Figured I had to be a pirate in there somewhere.
That's right.
I think Madlock had 4 or 5, didn't he?
How many did Pete have?
Pete Rose?
Yeah. Not as many, huh?
I guess not.
Just 330 every year, that's all. Jose Ascanio in for the Pittsburgh Pirates, 26 years old, the Venezuelan right-hander.
You're saying if you have 4,256 hits, there have to be a couple of batting titles?
How about 3,000 left-handed? Over 3,000 left-handed.
Jason Pridey will pinch it for the pitcher Thayer, leading off in the ninth. Pridey, then Harris and Tejada do up, with the Mets down 9-3. And Jason takes ball one from Ascanio. Pridey started in left field on Monday night, went 1 for 4. Well, the Braves held on to beat the Padres tonight 4-3. You know, Freddie Gonzalez benched Dan Uggla last night, and Uggla was back in the lineup tonight, but I believe he went hitless again. Uggla's hitting 175. How is that even possible?
That's what I was saying before. It was better when he couldn't catch and just hit home runs all the time. You know, Gary, you get on some of those slides and you can't believe it yourself. I mean, Crawford 3 weeks ago, you were saying to yourself, Carl Crawford I'm mentioning, 3 weeks ago, how could he be hitting under 200? Well, he's changed that very quickly. Uggla's looking for the same.
In there for a call, strike 3. So Pridey is down looking for the first out in the bottom of the ninth.
I'm just saying it could be, you know, what can happen. It's just like a pitcher starts and next thing you know you're 1-5 and 1-6. Things aren't changing. You're saying Mahalam for them who's pitching tomorrow 2-7 has pitched much better than that. It just keeps going.
Geico Sports Night, your nightly source for all things New York sports. Lots of basketball and hockey news tonight. Geico Sports Night tonight after the game on SNY. Here's Willie Harris, and he whoops one into right field for a base hit. So after striking out in his first 3 at-bats, Harris has a base hit. The Mets' 9th hit of the night. You know, but it's different with an everyday player.
Yeah,
as
I agree.
a pitcher, you get on a downward roll, and you know you only get to redeem yourself once every 5 days.
Yeah.
But you figure a hitter of Uggla's caliber would get something going, at least get his average close to 200 or something.
There's a lot of things happening there. You know, going to a new team, trying to impress, losing your confidence, all those things that, you know, probably very comfortable in Florida, now a little less comfortable in Atlanta. It's a strange thing. Like, you don't understand how it can happen, but it can.
How about Adam Dunn? Dunn's
can't hit left-handers.
He has, I think he's 0 for 38 against lefties this year. It's nuts. Josh Tolley on deck. Tejada drove in the first 2 Met runs with a bases loaded single in the 4th, and those 2 runs stood up until the 7th inning.
But it also works the other way. I mean, Matt Joyce is a good hitter. He's not a 370 hitter.
Oh, but we're out of the, you know, it's really early. Those numbers
yeah.
are a small sample. I mean, we played a third of the season now.
We're at the end of the beginning, aren't we?
Yeah. I think it's the beginning of the middle.
That's right.
Ascanio behind 2-0, and Tejada hits one down to third off the glove of the diving Wood. And so Tejada has his 2nd hit of the game. And the Mets have 2 men on in the 9th.
Wood looks like he might have hurt himself with that dive. Just out of the way. Bends over, grimacing.
Well, Tejada's got his batting average up to .311 now with his 2 hits tonight. Here's Josh Tolley up for the 2nd time. Took a call, 3rd strike in the 7th after coming in on the double switch. Josh started the last 3 games before tonight and has been swinging much better. And he hits the first pitch in the air to shallow center. And on comes McCutchen to call. And there are 2 away. So the Mets are down to their final out of the night with Angel Pagan coming to the plate. Angel 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. Well, the Pittsburgh Pirates, if they get 1 more out, will have their 17th road victory of the season. Last year, the Pirates won 17 road games all year. They went 17-64 on the road, which was the worst since the 1963 Mets. If they win tonight, they'll be 17-14, which means they could lose 49 straight road games after tonight and still have a chance to be better than last year. 2 out and 2 on for Pagan. I mean, the Pirates lost 105 games last year, and if they win tonight, they'll be only 2 games under 500.
Well, that's not going to happen for them. That's happened in the past. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to crack the 500 mark. They haven't had a winning season since '92, but I will tell you that they've got a foundation of good young players. They've got a nice little bullpen out there, especially in this series, and some real capable starting pitching.
To second base, Walker makes the flip, and the ball game is over. So the Pirates beat the Mets for the 2nd straight night, again coming from behind late. 5 in the 7th and 4 in the 8th, and Pittsburgh wins it 9-3.
Well, the infield single inning in the 7th against Chris Capuano was his downfall. You'll see 5 runs against him tomorrow, but I'll find a hard time to believe that. But really, in this game and in yesterday's game, 14 runs scored by the Pirates in the 7th inning plus.
So after the Mets won the opening game of the series on Monday night, the Pirates have taken 2 straight. Chris Capuano, a tough luck loss after 6 scoreless innings, gets charged with 5 runs in the 7th. Kevin Correa becomes the leading winner in the major leagues with his 8th victory of the season as Pittsburgh wins it 9-3.